Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's Score Fairfield County live webinar, Essentials for a Great Website. I'm Steve Smith, the webinar coordinator here at Score, and also a business mentor here at Score, and I'll be your host today, as I usually am. Our presenter is Nalini Goolsarran, and I'll tell you more about Nalini in just a minute. But first, I will talk a little bit about Score, and some of you, and I can see your names, have heard this before, but it's important for everyone to realize that Score is a national organization that was started in the mid-'60s and as a part of the U.S. Small Business Administration. There are about 320 some odd offices around the country. Fairfield County Score, which is located in Norwalk, is one of those 320. We cover kind of a group of entrepreneurs and small businesses from the Bridgeport area all the way down through and including Greenwich. We have 125 to 130 volunteers. Most of them retired. Two-thirds, I'll say, are retired executives, and a third are still working and volunteering at the same time, and kudos to them. We tend to have either or industry skills or business process skills or deep subject matter expert skills that we make available to our clients either through one-on-one counseling at our offices at 111 East Avenue in Norwalk, or through a very broad series of workshops and webinars. And by the way, you're on a webinar. That we conduct throughout Fairfield County. The workshops are typically done at libraries or other venues in the evening. Webinars are every other Tuesday at this time for an hour. There are three primary value-added services that Score offers. I think that we've talked a little bit about it, touched on each one of them, but one of them is one-on-one counseling with a Score counselor, or in some cases two, with the expertise required to help you with your specific question. We also have general education programs of workshops and webinars, which I've kind of touched on already. And our website is kind of like an unsung hero of our services, frankly. On the website, which is fairfieldcounty.score.org, you'll find many resources and tools and answers to frequently asked questions for people starting businesses or early stages of businesses or mature businesses, actually. And also at our website, you can gain access to the last 15 months, now probably 17 months actually, past webinars. There are about 40, 45 webinars in there that go back for 2 years. So I encourage you to go in there if you got a topic that's on your mind. It's likely that we've got it there for you. Our next webinar is going to be in 2 weeks, and the subject will be using online mega retailers. This is a really interesting topic. I really encourage you and to tell some of your cohorts to also participate in this webinar. Cliff Enico is the speaker, and as many of you know, you think if you're in the retail business of the Amazons of the world, being competitors and something you really have to be wary of. Actually, there's ways to use them to your advantage, and both of your advantages actually. You'll be getting the usual reminders about that webinar. You've already received one, I believe, and you'll get another one 3 days prior, and then the day right prior to that. So as usual, today's webinar will end sharply at 1, and it's being recorded. Repeat, it's being recorded and will be available at our website, fairfieldcounty.score.org, sometime by the end of the day, and by tomorrow for sure. We have set aside time for Q&A at the end of the presentation. So if you have a question, please use the chat window, which is located, as you can see, down at in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. We'll probably wait till the end to answer the questions, but if there's one that's particularly topical and right on Nalini's point, then I may interrupt her actually and go to the question. Also, at the conclusion of the webinar, you're going to receive an email asking you to evaluate the quality of the webinar. Please take some time and do that for me. It really would be appreciated. We do take action on that input. Now, on to our speaker. Nalini Goolsarran is the founder of EdgeSpace Marketing, and she has a passion for transforming business practices and streamlining communications for them. She has a BS in Computer Information Systems and has over 10 years of experience in information technology, project management, and communications, Before becoming an entrepreneur, she was an associate COO for a division of a global financial institution. She currently provides website development, social media marketing, and SEO services to small businesses and nonprofits. So I'm going to turn it over to Nalini now for the next 40 minutes or so, and we'll do Q&A at the end. Nalini, over to you.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us. Today we're going to talk about websites. We know that every business needs a website. It's an introduction to who you are and what you do. A website provides an opportunity for you to answer common questions and concerns, particularly if you're a new business in terms of why someone should do business with you. And for the most part, it builds credibility. We all know that we are in a world of the digital age where we have computers, tablets, and phones at our disposal, and we're constantly looking things up. If you do not have a digital presence, it makes it very hard to be validated as a business in today's day and age. Websites perform different services for different businesses. Every business will need something different. Here are some examples of different websites for different small businesses that all look different, feel different, and behave differently based on the customer experience and the customer journey. What we all don't realize is that when folks are coming to your websites, they have preset expectations. They're looking for certain information, and they're looking for them in certain places. So it's up to us to make sure that our customers can find what they're looking for easily and quickly. Marketing has changed. Instead of one-way interruption, web marketing is about delivering useful content at just the right moment when that buyer needs it. Think about it. We are in the era of 10-second page loads and 1-minute social media posts. So we have a very short amount of time to deliver the information to that client and make sure that they've absorbed it and then do what we want them to do, which is that call to action and call us, email us, or do business with us. So let's talk about what a website really is. Your website is a decision-making tool. Yes, it profiles your business. Yes, it answers concerns, but it is ultimately a decision-making tool. We all do it. We will Google something before we buy it. We look up reviews. We look up competitor pricing. We don't just go buy it anymore. We don't go to the store and pick it up and look at it. More often than not, we may take a picture of it in the store or look it up right then and there. We're also giving ourselves an opportunity to tell customers why they should trust us. As small businesses, as new businesses, it's really up to us to make sure that we answer those questions ahead of time. And customers also want to know if you can solve their problem. If you're a plumber, they want to know what type of plumbing you can fix. Can you fix my garbage disposal and my toilet? People have different specialities, so it helps them to know ahead of time before they make that phone call. So let's talk about what your users are looking for. The simplest answer is they want answers, and they want it immediately. Your website, if it's well-designed, load fast, and looks professional, they will then continue to look for what they're looking for, right? That is the first impression you've made. You now have 5 to 10 seconds to convince them to stay there and do something, either to continue reading or to actually click the buttons, look at your pricing, look at your services. Ultimately, you want to know that you're solving their problem. They're looking for you to give them a solution to the problem that they're experiencing. If you're doing blogs are a great way to write content that is aimed at describing symptoms and their problems and informing them of their options. It's also another opportunity for you to look at that same content and say, here is how I solved it. You might have a different approach than your competitors. The next thing that users want is a very, very simple layout. Keep it simple. Don't get creative with the names on your menu tabs or your navigation menu items. The simplest thing you can do is keep it as simple as possible. That's your best friend. Your home page is about letting users know what the site is for. That's where you give your spiel, your elevator pitch, the information that they're looking for in terms of who you are as a business or what you are as a business. The About Us section. That's where you showcase the people in the business. How did your business get started? Who are the people that work in the business? Why do you do what you do? If you're a nonprofit, this is also a great place to talk about your mission statement, your values, your commitment to your cause, and also list your board members and advisors. Contact information. Very often we go to websites and the contact information is simply hard to find, incorrect, or missing. If you have your contact information in an easily accessible place, meaning on a Contact Us page, in the header footer, you make it that much easier for the users to reach you the way they want to and they're comfortable. Some users want to make phone calls. Other users would prefer to email. And then, as I mentioned before, your navigation menu. Keep it simple. Keep it easily visible, whether you want to include it at the top of the page and the bottom of the page in the footer. It's a great opportunity to make sure that whatever content you're delivering, your users can find it. Zig Ziglar said it best. Stop selling and start helping. Let's look at a real-life example of what that looks like. A university has a web page, and on the left side, you see what the university has. A campus photo slideshow, alumni in the news, promotions for campus events, press releases, statements of the school philosophy, a letter from the president, and a virtual tour. If we move over to the right side of the diagram, we see that people are actually looking for faculty information, the campus address, forms, the academic calendar, campus police information, and the plethora of things that are looking at this Venn diagram. The only thing in common for what the users want and what the website delivered was the name of the school. So it's up to us to make sure we don't fall into this trap. So we start by removing all unnecessary distractions and focus on a simple design that's relevant to your users. That simple design should also be mobile friendly so that people can use it on their cell phones and tablets. Your logo should not be the most prominent design element. I get it. As small business owners, we want everyone to recognize us as a business. But think about the fact that computers are getting smaller and smaller. That means that the screen size is getting smaller and smaller, and you have that much less real estate to share the information that your user needs. So if your logo is taking up the majority of that real estate, you've lost an opportunity to share that valuable information with the users. Because remember, it's what's in it for them. Use big headlines and place your most important information up front and center. You want to make it obvious for users to know where they're supposed to go and what they're supposed to do next. So I've given you some high-level examples of things that you need. Let's get specific. Here are very specific things that every website needs. Your contact information, phone and email address in every header or footer of every page. It doesn't have to be both the header and the footer. It could be one or the other depending on your website design, but it should be in at least one of those places on every page. If you are a business that has a physical location, include a link to Google Maps. This makes it easier for users to click it. It opens the map app on their phone, and they can find your business. If you also have a physical location, please make sure that your Google My Business listing is also up to date. That's another way that users will find your location easier. Your hours. If you are a service-based business, display your hours clearly. In the footer of the home page, and every page is a great place to put it, as well as the Contact Us page. Consumer behavior is that those are the places they look for it. Don't get creative about where you put it. I mean, if you want to have a separate page just for the hours, you can do that too, but oftentimes the hours can be found on the Contact Us page as well as in the footer of the web page. Please list your services. It should be a brief description of the things that you do. It can be a bulleted list. It could be a section type design. Depending on your business and the number of services, this can vary and the design can change, but it's always in your best interest to list the types of services that you offer. Frequently asked questions. You can never go wrong by addressing a concern before they have it. Oftentimes, as you're in business, you will run across the same type of questions repeatedly. This is a great place to answer those questions ahead of time, ease any concerns, and address things that people might want to know before they do business with you, while they're doing business with you, and maybe even after. For example, if you're a massage therapist, there might be things that you want to let them know beforehand, during, and after their visit. Testimonials. This is a great way to show off how great you are, right? You've had businesses already that you've worked with, clients that you've worked with, and they've written reviews for you. Showcase them on your website. You may be able to pull them from Google or Yelp, or you may contact those clients directly. Something to keep in mind is that if you are concerned about privacy, it's a common practice to include just the initials of the person, or first name with an initial, or initials and a location. There's a number of ways to highlight that, so there's a credibility to the testimonial, but also keeping the person's information confidential. And then lastly, pricing. This is a depending on the type of business question. Not every business needs to list their pricing, but if you're in a business where it is common to see your pricing, you should list it. For example, a gym or a massage therapist, they have set rates. They're hourly or they're flat, whatever it may be. Your competitors are doing it, and clients are looking for it because your competitors are doing it. In other cases, your prices may vary because of it's based on the project, length of time, things like that. And so you really want to take pricing as a case-by-case situation and know the type of business you're in. So let's look at some examples of where these are working. Here is a website for UCBC Bagels here in Darien that has the contact information right in the header. You have the address and a phone number, and then also in the footer you can see the phone number, the hours, and the address again with a Google Maps link. On every page that this person goes to as a client, they will find this information. A couple other examples here. As you can see, the menu is clearly displayed at the top of both of these websites, and the top one has testimonials, upcoming walks, and FAQ. In the case of that business, there is only one service. So it makes sense to change it to upcoming walks because that business only has one service and it's very clear. In the bottom business, you have services, frequently asked questions, and pricing. This is a massage studio, so it makes sense for them to include pricing because the rate is set and that's what consumers are looking for. Now we're going to talk a little bit about call to actions. We've heard it, we have no idea what it means, and we don't know how to make people actually take action. So call to action is a button, a line of text, an image, and the purpose is to get someone to click that button or do the action that's outlined in the button. Click here for more info, register, things like that. Ultimately, there's 3 steps involved. You want to get the user's attention and collect their information. That is the call to action. As the business, you then want to follow up on that call to action because you've asked them to do something. It's your turn to respond. Effective call to actions are very clear. Don't assume that people know what to do when they read your ad or marketing materials. You'll get greater results by being clear about what you want them to do next. And that could be register for your next event. That could be call us for more information. Could be make an appointment for a consultation. Think about your business and what makes sense for the users. And you want to put it everywhere, whether or not it's on your website, whether it's on printed material. If you have a brochure, the brochure might say, call us for a free consultation, or call us for X fill in the blank based on your business. And then lastly, know your desired result. Do you have an end goal for each of your call to actions and how that action fits in with other parts of your marketing plan or sales funnel? If you have them come in for a free consultation, which is what your call to action may be, what is the follow-up action that you need to do to turn them into a client? Call to actions are ultimately a part of your marketing plan, but they're not your whole marketing plan. Here are some examples of call to actions buttons that could be on websites. They use action verbs: sign up, register, call, subscribe. Subscribe is if you're going to have a mailing list. If you are going to ask users to subscribe, it's a good idea to be consistent, but do not overuse your newsletter function. We all suffer from email fatigue, so you want to think about that frequency clearly. If you're a nonprofit, an online donation button. More and more people are moving away from physical checks and mailing, and they're very keen on doing things online. It's a lot of times very easy for them to click a button and do an online donation for you depending on what you're raising funds for, whether it's general donations or specific fundraisers. Moving into the second column, we have buy and order. Those are two that are great for buy now, order here, pre-order here if you're in a product-based business. And then, of course, we have share and follow and download. These are also great for building that social media platform. Build your presence. Let people hear about your products. Let people get to know you. Encourage users to share your content on their social media so that their friends and family can get to know you as well as they know you. And then lastly, click here for. It could be for more information. It could be to get in touch. Think about click here for very wisely when you use it. It should be no more than 5 or 6 words. If the button gets too long or too wide, it then ends up becoming lost in the sea of design, and it might lose its effectiveness. These are a couple examples of websites that use call to actions effectively. I know you can't see them all very well, but in the very back we have Evernote. Looking at the top of Evernote, you can see that in the upper right they have sign up, which is highlighted in green, and sign in, which is less easy to find. Dropbox also has, you can't see it, but it has a big sign up button, and the sign in is in the upper right, which is a little hard to see. With Netflix, we have their call to action is join free for a month, and then sign in is also highlighted as well. The reason I'm bringing this to your attention is that we get focused a lot on building our sales funnel, but we lose sight of our existing clients. If you have a website that has a login component or things of that nature, make it easy for your existing clientele to find that information as much as you're making it easy for new people to sign up. I cannot emphasize that enough. It is oftentimes a way that you lose a visitor to your website because they cannot find the login or sign in button because you're so focused on the sign up button. So now we're going to jump a little bit into messaging and what that means. Messaging is how we say and what we say it. We hear it all the time, that communication is a two-way street. It's what we said and it's how it was heard. When you're writing the message for your website, it is so important to focus on your user. Think about what the benefit is to them and think about how and why they should use your product. For example, the first example we have here, a business-focused example for a yoga mat is, our yoga mats are professionally engineered to reduce slip. Okay, that's great. You spent a lot of time with engineers and you made it wonderful, but you made it. If you look at a customer-focused message, it says, yoga mats engineered to give you stay-put performance no matter the pose. In this example, we're talking strictly about the customer. The customer wants to know that while they're using your yoga mat, they're not going to slip and fall. Another example that we can use in the same place is refrigerators. If you're selling refrigerators, you may not want to do your messaging around food cooling devices because people are looking for refrigerators. And you want to be clear. Your message has to clearly state what service or product you're selling. In a couple of examples here, you can see the one in the back for Zora. There's a lot of noise going on, but it's not really clear what they're selling. They do have buttons that say what is Zora, who their customers are, some resources, and an academy. But the reality is an impatient user may land on that home page and not want to click another button. They may have already clicked a button to get there. Rule of thumb is usually 3 clicks. If it takes them more than 3 clicks to find what they're looking for, chances are they're going to go elsewhere. The next example, it says shipping easy and cheap, and it might be hard to read, but it says here that Shipple apps or API get shopping rates and labels within minutes. This website has clearly outlined what their value proposition is. There's a compelling message, and it's all about the users and what they need without any further clicks. And then this one you can see right up in the upper right corner, there's a sign up. Right away people can say, this is what I want, you've answered my concern, now I'm going to sign up. That's what you want to think about as your customer journey. So now let's...
Nalini, let me feed a question to you here, and also give you a chance to relax and catch your breath. Do you recommend hot linking the phone number? There was a question that Bud asked here.
Yes, absolutely. In the day and age of a mobile device, when hot linking means that when you click the number, it opens the call app in your cell phone. Oftentimes, and I see this on a lot of websites, you're trying to click and you're trying to drag the scroll bar to copy all the digits, and in the end you're probably grabbing a piece of paper to write that number down before you can dial. So the answer is absolutely yes. If you are able to hot link the number, not every website platform allows for that. For example, Wix is a good example. While the layouts are great, you can't always hot link the numbers.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, great answer. I've had that problem myself. Everybody has probably. Okay. Well, since we're having pausing here for a couple of questions, there's another one from Bud about being hacked, and we hear about it all the time, and it's like on everybody's mind, and nobody really knows exactly what to do about it. But what are some of the security issues you recommend when addressing a website?
The first thing you want to do is, if you're intaking any type of information, private information beyond a name and an email, you want to include an SSL certificate. Your domain provider, such as GoDaddy or HostGator, should provide for that. You should also use a reputable hosting company, whether it's GoDaddy, HostGator, Bluehost. There's numerous of them out there, but private hosting can get you into trouble a lot of times. The bigger companies have better firewalls, better latency, things like that to keep your website secure. They're also constantly scanning to make sure, and they can alert you if things come up. If you're using WordPress, there are great plugins that you can install for firewall for an additional security layer to prevent some of those hack attempts. One that I like for WordPress would be WordFence. So those are some things that you can do to protect yourself.
Yeah, SSI certificate, what's that?
SSL certificate, secure socket layer. Sorry, it felt like I took a test. Secure socket layer. It is a type of certificate that when you go to websites, a lot of times they tell you to look for HTTPS or a lock icon, or it might say secure, things like that. That's how you know if there's an SSL certificate on your website. What we're finding now with Chrome is that Chrome is requiring that every website should have an SSL certificate, and that means that you might find that a website that doesn't have it and doesn't need it might get a pop-up that says, this website is not secure, are you sure you want to proceed? So it can be a little controversial depending on the business, but unless you're intaking information, you really don't need it. However, that can be a deterrent for folks, so a lot of people are now opting into the SSL whether or not they need it.
So is there a big cost to SSL?
It depends on the host. A lot of companies now give you 1 year free, and then it's a question of how and where it goes after that.
All right, why don't we get back to your presentation, or
Sure.
You were on the web design checklist page.
Yeah, so it's actually a great place for questions. So we're going through, and I've covered a lot, but recapping some must-have items. Your contact information, hours, services, testimonials if they're available, pricing if it's applicable, having logos that are sized appropriately. And then when you wonder about whether or not your website is usable or whether or not your messaging is correct, here are some things to ask yourself. Is my layout easy to follow? Go through it yourself. QA your website, quality assure it, and figure out, if I wanted to get to pricing, can I get there? If I wanted to get to services, can I get there? Do I have the right call to actions? And do they make sense for my marketing strategy? This goes back to the bigger picture of who are your clients, what do you need from them, and what do you need them to do? So thinking about that bigger journey helps you figure out where the call to actions and type of call to actions that make sense. Ultimately, do you know what your customers are looking for? Early on we talked about messaging that makes sense, thinking like your customer, putting your customer centric in your messaging. Is it clear what problem you're solving for? As you're thinking about that customer and thinking about their problem, are you solving for it as you write your messaging for your website, and are you framing the benefits for your customer? My final thoughts on that is, have someone unfamiliar with your business review your website and give you feedback. That's the person who's going to really know whether or not you're answering all these questions and whether or not it's making sense. We oftentimes are very familiar with our businesses. We are very close to our messaging, and it means a lot to us, so we know what we want. But having a stranger do it or someone unfamiliar do it will raise those questions, and you can figure out where the gaps are. And something to keep in mind, marketing is no longer about the stuff you make, but about the stories you tell. For anyone who has more questions, we're going to go into some more Q&A now. But if you wanted to email me, my email is right here. You could also visit my website, take a look at some information there. I'll admit I probably don't have an FAQ on my own website, which I should. But you can also send me a message directly through the website if in case you didn't grab the email.
Okay, great, Nalini. Thank you very much. So now we have lots of time for questions, and one of the questions that came up when you mentioned Chrome a minute ago was, like, where do you get Chrome and who manufactures it and that kind of thing?
So Chrome is an internet-based browser also for your phone. It's manufactured by Google. It's a free browser. A lot of people use Chrome because of the Google integration. Specifically, if you have Android phones, it comes pre-built. You can log in across multiple devices. You're saving bookmarks and history across numerous devices. It also has an incognito function, which allows you to go tracker-free. So a lot of people like that. I guess it's a competitor to Safari if you have an Apple device.
So so we do have a question here from Zishan Ahmad, and he says, I want to learn how to build, my own website, do SEO, marketing, etc., the whole ball of wax, everything you need to build and maintain a successful site on your own. Are there any resources that you recommend other than, of course, yourself?
There's actually a lot. There's a lot of YouTube videos. There's a lot of blogs out there that explain like the basics of a website. I think it depends on how tech savvy you are. If you're very technical, WordPress could be a good resource because you'll be familiar with how to do the plugins. You don't need a lot of technical aptitude, but it is more of a technical-friendly platform. An alternative could be Wix or Squarespace, where it's more drag and drop, and it has built-in marketing and SEO, and they have guides to guide you through the whole thing. So those are two platforms that are very popular. They're both also for people that want to self-manage, so you don't have to build the website in code as we used to do in the past, so you can do it with a drag-and-drop interface. But like I said, WordPress is more for technical folks or tech-savvy folks, and there's lots of blogs and YouTube videos on that. And Wix is for folks that prefer maybe more of a drag-and-drop interface.
Yeah, okay, so we've got Wix. I guess Anne was asking what was the second one you said after WordPress? I guess that was?
Wix, W-I-X. If you Google Wix, it'll be Wix.com, W-I-X.com.
Right, back up to a question from Janet, who said she signed in late. No, we didn't specifically address this, but she's asking, what platform is your website on? WordPress or other, and I'll just add why.
So my website for Edge Space Marketing is on Wix. The reason I went with Wix was a I'll be honest, it was quick and dirty. I needed my website up very fast when I started my business, and Wix has what they call the Artificial Design Interface, ADI for short, and it literally, you answer a few questions about the type of business you are, your color palette, style that you may like, and it pre-builds your website for you, and then you can go back and make changes, correct the text, things like that. So I was literally able to build my website at the start of my business 2 years ago in about 3 hours maximum. I mean, if I kept the Wix content, I would have been done in an hour, but I went back and revised the content. Over the course of the years, I've added more content, added pictures, things like that. The downside of using Wix is that you cannot transport that website anywhere. Wix will own all your content, the design, you can't get to the code, so I'm kind of stuck with Wix for as long as unless I want to rebuild the website. Alternatively, I could have used WordPress, but I was in a time constraint. WordPress is a lot more cost effective, and you can move the WordPress from host to host, GoDaddy, Bluehost, HostGator, whichever one you may prefer. But that's the rationale for why EdgeSpace is on Wix.
Okay, yeah, got it. Great. Evidently, Hector is not a Wix fan. I can see here, probably because of the reason you mentioned. It's not portable somewhere else. You're kind of locked in. Yeah, who wants to be that? But unless you're really, like you said, you need to get going quickly. Yeah. What other drag and drop platforms do you recommend, if any?
Squarespace is a good one. And Kathleen mentioned here that Squarespace allows you to export and change the templates, so it gives you the drag and drop without some of those limitations. Another good one, especially if you're in the sales side, like you have a product-based business, Shopify. Shopify is a good one, and a good reason to use Shopify if you are going to be in a product-based business where you're going to sell your products online, e-commerce, is that it allows integration with Instagram so people can shop through Instagram with your Shopify website.
Yeah, so I'm going to, we got a question here from DeWanda who says, can you review my site and give me some feedback? Well, here's what I would suggest, DeWanda. You can see Nalini's contact information here. Just send her an email or go to her website and call her and get to her directly that way if you don't mind. So let's see. Yeah, there's some good comments in here. Budley had a good question here about what are your favorite or must-have WordPress add-ins?
Plugins. So some of my favorite WordPress plugins. First and foremost is WordFence. That's the firewall plugin. The first thing I do on any website is I install the free version of that so that from the time you start building your website, it's protected from hackers and especially for brute force attempts. I also am a fan of the Elementor plugin. That's E-L-E Elementor, T-O-R at the end. That creates the drag and drop interface within WordPress for you. So what you'll find is sometimes you see a WordPress website that has lots of videos and photos displayed in a nice array. You'd be surprised in the background there is the Elementor plugin that allows somebody to drag and drop that without having to do a large amount of coding. Another good plugin that I like is the Updraft Plus plugin. There is a free version of that as well, and that allows you to make sure that you have regular backups of your site and you can put it in remote storage like a Google Drive or a Dropbox. Especially as you're building and when you're done building, it's a very good idea to keep regular backups just in case something goes wrong, whether you're hacked or sometimes it could be a lapse in your hosting plan and you might need to restore your website. Those are some good plugins. Yoast, Y-O-A-S-T, that's the SEO plugin that I favor. Again, that gives you just a type-in interface so that SEO is made easy and not complicated. There's lots of things you can do for your SEO, but if you're using WordPress, Yoast is a good way to do the SEO simply and feed Google the information it needs. The list goes on, but those are my top 4.
Okay, great. Deshaun has another question. This actually is very relevant, I think, to a lot of people just getting started now. It's like, what do you think of using domain extensions other than .com? It's seem increasingly difficult, I added that word, to find a .com name for your business? Is there other alternatives that you recommend?
This is an interesting one. We see .net often. If you're a nonprofit, .org usually signals that you're a nonprofit. I have seen .info, .io seems to be another popular one. Personally, I don't necessarily know that I have one that I favor more than the other ones. I think it's really a question of if can people find your business without running into the competing business who's already using the .com. So, for example, if someone else has EdgeSpace mktg.net and they're ranking really high on Google and I'm coming in now to get .com, I've got to do a lot of SEO to get above them in the Google ranking. So it might be a bigger question of if you can't find the .com specifically for the domain you're looking for, is there an alternative?
Okay, great. Thank you. Now here's one from Teresa. Is there a difference, or what's the difference between Wix, W-I-X, and Woox, W-U-I-X?
I'm not familiar with W-U-I-X. I wonder if that's a typo, but Wix, W-I-X is a popular platform that we're familiar with for the web builds. I'm not familiar with W-U-I-X.
Neither am I. Well, maybe Teresa will come back to us here. So then what about CRM-type software and products, just in general? What do you think about what do you recommend there?
So this goes back to how you set up your website to begin with, and this is when you're figuring out costs, some things to think about. WordPress allows you to integrate with MailChimp. A lot of my clients right now are using MailChimp and or Constant Contact. There's an integration for one or both. So if you're using WordPress, you can look at your costs and figure out at what point will you be paying more for either one of those? And the reason I bring that up is because Wix is substantially more than a WordPress website if you do web hosting through GoDaddy or HostGator, and Wix comes with CRM built in. It captures that information from your clients when they fill out the forms and the subscribe, and then it's also allowing you to build newsletter campaigns, short notes, things of that nature. So it really depends on the bigger picture when you're thinking about your cost factors and what you're looking for. It's why some people really like Wix, is because everything's kind of integrated and they don't have to go very far to find other tools to integrate with.
All right, great. Good answer. What about Weebly? Are you familiar with Weebly, W-E-E-B-L-Y?
Yeah, so Weebly is another drag and drop interface. It's, I guess, losing traction in terms of popularity. It's losing to Squarespace and Wix as a drag and drop interface. My understanding is that it has lost, or it's never had as much of the capability as those other two platforms. So a lot of people, if they're already familiar with Weebly, they like it, but newer users tend to either go towards Squarespace or Wix, in my experience. Other folks might have different experiences. That's what I'm seeing.
All right, good. What about thoughts about Squarespace to build your website?
Squarespace is a good platform for a drag and drop, especially if you want to maintain it yourself. It has great containers, and it makes sure that your design is mobile friendly right away. That's another reason that people prefer Wix and Squarespace, is because their design templates are actually designed to be mobile friendly right away.
All right, good answer. Good, quick, short answer. We're going back to security. Zishan asked, what was the name of the plugin for security? Do you remember?
Plugin for security. So on WordPress, the plugin was WordFence, F-E-N-C. That's the firewall, and the backup plugin is Updraft Plus. We can maybe if you message me through through my website or email me, I can definitely get you that information.
Okay, good. So from Budley again, what are some base level, back to SEO, and what are some base level SEO tips you can offer? Top three that come to mind.
So top 3 SEO tips. First and foremost, pictures. Name your pictures properly. When we're uploading pictures to the website, oftentimes you're downloading them from your phone, from your email, and they've got gibberish for the name. That's a great place to put the name of your business and a couple of keywords. If I were to do anything, I said if I had to upload 40 pictures, 25 of them would all start with EdgeSpace marketing, and then one might say graphic design, one might say SEO, I would just continue down the list. and then look for the other keywords that are relevant. It's also a great place to list location, so I might say Edge Space Marketing, Stamford, Connecticut, because that's part of your SEO. So that's the first thing you should do is rename all your pictures properly. Both or all of these platforms allow you to edit what's called the alt text, ALT. I couldn't tell you what the acronym stands for, but it's called alt text. And that's a space to fill in the same information, Edge Space Marketing, Stamford, Connecticut, followed by a whole bunch of keywords. Include commas, because what you want to think about is what are people actually Googling. So if someone's going to type in digital marketing Stamford, that's what I want to put there. Or if they're going to type in web design Stamford, that's what I'm going to put there between the commas. So that's tip 2. And then tip 3, this is a WordPress-specific answer, but it goes for all the platforms. WordPress in particular has this problem. Make sure your pages are named correctly, the actual link at the top. If you don't set it properly in WordPress, you might end up with page ID 152 when it should say About Us or it should say Testimonials. Make sure that's named appropriately. Those are the small things that can hurt your SEO that you can do very easily and you won't lose any clients.
Okay, so we're going very quickly here on the questions, and we have in the audience we have people with different knowledge levels, and a lot of the acronyms are kind of leaving people behind. So I'll feed them to you, and you tell me what they are. I think Chris is saying, what is SEL or SDL? I'm not.
SSL, Secure Socket Layer, and that is the type of certificate you want to get for your website. So if you have your domain through GoDaddy, you could always call them and ask them for the SSL certificate pricing so that you can get that. And again, that is to make sure that your website is secure. It has either the lock icon or it says HTTPS, or depending on your browser, it might actually say secured.
Perfect. Here's a softball. CRM.
CRM, Customer Relationship Management. That one is the tool for how you manage your inbound clients. So those are the emails that you're gathering, whether it's through your website, whether you had a workshop. But part of one of the marketing tools that they tell us as small businesses, we should be collecting emails on a regular basis. And CRM is really the tool that will help you manage that. So we mentioned MailChimp or Constant Contact. Those are popular ones to send newsletters regularly. Wix has it built in, so you can still send newsletters. And there's other very complex web like Zoho and stuff that do CRM at a higher level with sales funnels and all of that.
So here's one that it's easy to say what this acronym means, but it's a webinar or a workshop unto its own. SEO. Search
Engine Optimization. So basically that means is how do you get found on Google? Back in the day when you built a website, you depended on Google to rank you however they saw fit. And technically you still do that today, but today we have tools that will allow us to help Google rank us better. And that's some of the tips we mentioned, like naming your photographs properly, locations, keywords, things like that. And SEO really is helping you raise your ranking on page 1 in Google organically. This is separate and apart from paid advertising or Google AdWords, which are, again, paid. Search engine optimization allows you to organically rank.
Good, great. Now back up a little bit. Richard asked the question your comments and thoughts about something I have no idea what it is myself. DVWP, D-I-V-I-W-P theme.
DiviWP is a WordPress theme. It's a very popular WordPress theme. Ironically, of all the websites that I've built, I've never actually used Divi, and the reason is I build my websites around the customer needs. So when my client comes to me and asks me for a website, one of the first questions that I ask is, what is a feature or item that must be present on your website? And that will drive which theme we pick. An example I'll give you is a coffee shop that I was building their website. Her only thing that she wanted other than the color palette was that the Instagram must be integrated with the website so that all her posts are in real time showing up on the website in a nice feed. She didn't care whatever else that website did except that, and so I looked for a theme that had that functionality. But going back to the original question, Divi is a very popular theme that a lot of people use. I've just not used it because specifically for what my clients were looking for, Divi didn't do that or something did it better.
Okay. We've got Kathleen asking the question, what's your favorite, she must really respect your opinion, what's your favorite scheme of plugin for WordPress?
My favorite scheme or plugin, I think she means theme. Theme. This kind of changes because what you find is there was one in particular that I really liked, and I couldn't tell you the name of it now because it's no longer available, and I had to find a new one. And the reason that I liked it was because it allowed for easy customization specific to the client's needs. So one that I use now is Ocean WP because it allows you to change the template and the theme to meet the client's needs. So sometimes the pre-built plugins don't necessarily work, or not plugins, pre-built themes don't meet the needs of that client, and I have to custom, design the screen. And the particular reason I like it is because I can use it with that Elementor plugin for the drag and drop display. So we're not custom coding a whole website. We're doing it drag and drop so that the users can self-manage later.
Okay, well, Kathleen came back and said, sorry, I meant embedding structured data, not theme. And so let me say that again. So she was saying, actually, I meant embedding structured data, not theme.
Believe it or not, that's actually outside of my expertise. I would have to consult someone else on that. Sorry, Kathleen, I'm not too familiar. I understand structured data. Those not familiar with it, it is part of SEO and some things that you can do. It's complex, and I've not actually used it yet. It's some of the new ways that SEO is changing, and so I myself am still learning that, so it's a little outside of my expertise.
Well, Kathleen won't be able to help you because she says it's out of her expertise, too. Well, good. But it's new, so everybody has to get up to speed. Okay, so where do you find WordPress themes that are custom-friendly?
So what I normally recommend clients do is don't go directly through WordPress. They will charge you an arm and a leg for the business version of WordPress, which is how you get the themes and the plugins that are customizable. What you're better off doing, which GoDaddy and HostGator may not tell you, is you want to get web hosting from them. Not WordPress hosting, web hosting. And web hosting comes where you can, and they can walk you through the process if you want to do this yourself, to install WordPress on your web hosting, and then you have that business version of WordPress to do everything that you need. And then once you've now installed your WordPress, you can then go through, when you're in the back end, you go to Appearances, and I think it's Themes. I'm doing this off memory, and you can start searching. And so, for example, when my client asked for that Instagram integration, I actually typed in the search box Instagram, and then looked at all the different themes that had that capability. And then what I like to do is kind of flip through the themes and figure out, does this one look like it might work, and look at other functionalities. And sometimes the free versions will stick you with a color palette you don't like, so it's a little bit of a trial and error if you don't want to pay for those premium versions, which can get pricey.
Great. There's still some flutter here in the Q&A about SEO, and as I said before, I know we have it in. Actually, there are several webinars in our archives at fairfieldcounty.score.org on this subject, which will take you into it in depth. But I thought in the last minute or two before we start to close it down, if you could, I think way back up here, Budley asked the question of what are some base level SEO tips. Now you kind of said it already. Is there anything else that comes to mind?
Location. A lot of times when we have WordPress, we have Yoast filled in, and we don't take advantage of all the characters in the box. And so we might say, let's say Score might just say small business administration or small business resource, but it might not say Stamford, Connecticut. But you actually might want to say Stamford, Connecticut, comma, Fairfield, comma, Norwalk, comma. Think about your larger expanse and where you want to reach. Those characters are valuable. It's actually, comma is not usually what people use. A lot of times they use, I don't know the technical term. I call it the hard bar. It's the straight line. It's the key that's right above the enter if you hit shift. It's above the backward slash. That's how you find that. And it's usually that's what you'll see a lot of times when you're looking at those listings in Google.
Interesting. Where is it? It's right above. I've never even. Oh, I have a Mac. There it is. Yeah, I see it. Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, we need. If anybody knows the name of that key, please put it in the chat box, and we'll all become smarter. Yeah. 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 Okay. Good. Okay, so I think it's really been good. It's been fast-paced. I think the length of the content in the QA was right on, and probably could go on for hours. If you have any additional questions for Nalini, you've got her contact information there. And so we're going to kind of close down here. And just a reminder, we do have 2 webinars each month, and the next one is going to be in 2 weeks from today, which would be, according to my math, the 18th of June, and it's on using online mega retailers. So if you're in the retail sector out there and you're wondering what in the world I'm talking about, how do you use your competition, there is a way. It's quite effective, actually, and they view it as a win for them as well. So please tune in to that webinar 2 weeks from today at noon. Also, as I said before, we do offer the services of one-on-one counseling at our offices here at 111 East Avenue in Norwalk. So please go to the website and request counseling, and you'll be able to sit down with a counselor and discuss your individual questions in a lot of detail. So on behalf of SCORE, I'd like to thank everybody for attending today. A great big thank you to Nalini for presenting. One more reminder, I don't get paid based on how many times I say this, even though you'd think I do, but please visit fairfieldcounty.score.org to see all the things we can help you with. Have a great day, and thank you very much. Bye-bye.